All right. So what's in store? A little bit about the venues that we have selected for this event. Science Slammers will already know there is something in a particular venue that we have organized for the pre-event day. It's called the Brinkburn Brewery, which is a bit more to the north of the center of Newcastle, an industrial, quite interesting, also very cultural area. You can see the Brinkburn Brewery on these three pictures to the left. We will have some of the pre-event day sessions there, the opening reception, the science slam. It's a really nice, a bit alternative, cool location, which we hope that you will enjoy. And then we become a bit more corporate on event day 1 and 2 and move to the Crown Plaza, which is more in the center of Newcastle. And we will have plenary, all right, the knowledge wave sessions there, fishbowls, walk the talk, all these things happen there. And some of you may even stay there with your accommodation. Good. This is the very rough program structure we have developed for the 3 days. You can see the pre-event day on June 4th, starting in the morning with some pre-event activities which some of you may be involved in. There's an opportunity to do an early check-in, get your registration badge and the typical things that you get for an event. And then we start with an official opening of the event in the late afternoon, moving us into the Science Slam, opening the event with a bang, and then have a welcome reception immediately after everything happened in the Brinkburn Brewery. And then on June 5th and 6th, we'll move to the Crown Plaza. You can, again, register early on June 5. The official opening of the activities in the plenary will start at 9 a.m. local time. And then we have a relatively classic structure with some keynotes, some networking opportunities, parallel sessions, poster presentations, moving us into a social program section that we're also going to talk about briefly here today. And then if you've signed up for that, there will be a conference dinner on day 1. And June 6th, then starting with parallel sessions, having a bit of a keynote there as well, and with the social program starting there at 5 again. So relatively simple structure. And for June 7th, the day after these more workish event days, we have planned for an unconference day. If you are interested in staying longer, together with colleagues, have some additional meetings that emerge through the conference days, do a bit of work together that you find interesting, but also socialize and unwind after the conference days, you're very, very welcome to join this and shape this. It's really up to you to decide what you want to contribute with. If you want to start a work group on the Saturday, do that. If you want to unconference swim together with other implementation scientists and practitioners, here is your chance. This is about cold water swimming. And since this is not my thing, I will give the word to Leah now, who's the expert here. Leah, do you want to briefly speak about the unconference swim?
I love to speak about cold water swimming. Thank you. So we were thinking that we wanted to facilitate your unconference discussions with a bit of enjoying nature at the same time. So we came up with the idea of an unconference swim. And this is because it's a big part of the culture here in the Northeast at the coast to do the cold water swimming. And I know that some of us in the call today already engaged in cold water swimming. So I really hope that I see you and all of you there. So basically, it will be a guided swim. So there will be a swim guide. There will be a local swimmer who will give you a bit of information about the culture here and how the swim groups work. And then we just go in the water all together. And afterwards, there will be hot drinks and cake and chat. So you really don't want to miss that. And on the picture, you can actually see the swim bay color codes where we're going to swim. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks, Bianca.
You want to say anything about the water temperatures on that day?
Water temperatures will probably be like 14, if we are lucky, 15 degrees, I would say.
Mm.
I was advised by someone saying, don't promote it as cold water swimming, just say wild swimming or open water swimming. But yeah, it will be cold, but it will also be really good.
Good. All right. Afterwards, so you can cover everything and attend in all activities on that day. We will have two unconference walks, one more accessible, another one being a longer hike, again along the coast near Newcastle, which is a really lovely area. So if you have a bit of a hiker in you, there's that option as well. And as we said, if there are other things that you want to organize and motivate others to engage in and join in, you're very welcome to do that, and we can help you communicate about it during the event days. And if you have smaller organizational needs, we're also happy to support these. So just let us know. Good. There's an app. If you have attended the European implementation event before, you have had this on your phone likely before. This is how it looks. There will be an opportunity to download this to your phone. Is this already up for everybody at the moment, Christina, or will it take a little longer? 2 weeks before the event dates. So about in a week or so, you should be able to download this app, which I think is a nice tool to get an overview, but also to build together your own little program, so you don't need to scroll up and down all the time and just have your set schedule on your app. You will also be invited to establish your profile using a profile picture, and if you're on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile. Use this to introduce yourself to others through the app, and get in touch with colleagues whose presentations you've heard and whose work you might be interested in. So in that way, this app can be used for social purposes, and we highly recommend you to use it as much as you can. We will also post program updates here, and that is always a bit of an issue closer to the date, where it's important that people get the information about potential changes in the program in real time. So we would also, for those very pertinent reasons, recommend you to download the app and stay up to date with any changes that might happen to the program. We're still in the process of refining program structure, so it may be possible that we decide, or we don't let this start at 5, we will first let it start at 5:15 and so forth. So those smaller changes are important that you're informed about. So keep in mind, there's an app. We want to give you a bit of a sense of the audience that you can expect. At the moment, it looks like we're having 350 attendees. You can see their country of origin and the distribution across countries on the left-hand side here. The biggest groups come from the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and then we have multiple countries in about the same size: Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, strong representation from Australia, and then other countries attending with smaller groups of participants. But it's a relatively international crowd that you are going to meet. And then on the right-hand side, you can see in which areas or sectors they work. The strong majority is working in health, And that doesn't even include mental health. So you count the mental health people on top of that. And you can say that around about 75 people, 75% of the people joining the EIE will work in some kind of health context. We have a bit of educational representation, child, youth, and family services as well, and then small representation from criminal justice. And then a few others, the roles and sectors we have listed in this small squared box. So get a sense of the mix here to get a better feel for what the audience is like. A bit more about your audience. To the left, you can see the role that people have described for themselves. Most of EIE 2025 participants are identifying as researchers or implementation researchers, and together with quite a group of students, bachelor, PhD, master students. That means that, again, the large majority of the audience has some kind of scientific background. But as you can see on the left-hand side here as well, we have implementation advisors, specialists here as well. We have organizational leaders, policy developers, consultants, frontline practitioners. So also there a bit of a mix, but clearly a researchy type of audience. And then on the right-hand side, you can see what people described as their implementation science, implementation practice, implementation type of experience, with about half of the people having less than 5 years of experience. We've always had a particularly strong representation of early career people, which we call the ECIPs, Early Career Implementation Professionals. So that hasn't changed, and also explains that we have a relatively strong ECIP track. So different activities that address are targeted at these early career implementation professionals. But you can also see there are quite a few people who have 5 to 10 or even more than 10 years experience in this field. Good. That was a bit background. Before I move to the different session formats, are there any questions at this stage that we can help to answer? And just speak up, because I only have a limited view of who was on this call and might raise their hand. If not...
Sorry, hi Bianca. Is the dress code smart casual?
Oh, I like that question. I will give this to Leah and Christine. I'm interested in their view on this. Do we think we have a dress code? Have we ever felt that somebody was dressed up improperly for the European implementation event? Chris, you're the first asking this question ever, and we've done this since 2018, so thank you. This is a new one.
You're welcome.
I think everybody should dress how they like it, really, and how there's not a code. I think everybody should be comfortable in what they like to wear, so it can be everything, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Leah?
Yes, I was just about to react. There's no dress code, just dress as you feel good.
And also, so this picture here is taken at the 2018 Copenhagen event, also telling a little bit about people coming relatively casually to the event. So really be experimental, even in the dress code. We would welcome it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Lovely.
Good. Any other questions at this stage? If not, let's talk a little bit about these different session formats which you have submitted under. So there's a little bit of repetition in this, but we want to make sure that you just get a refresher on your formats. With Ride the Knowledge Wave, or RTKW, being the more traditional, flashy, brief, sciencey type of presentation format that you know from other conferences, I'm sure. So this is really with the focus on latest cutting edge implementation science and practice, new projects, new findings, and structured into sessions of 60 minutes. And each session will be shared by 4 different presenters. You will have 10 minutes to present, followed by 2 to 3 minutes for questions. And the room setup is theater style, so also that relatively traditional. You have been asked already, and we will repeat this at the end of this presentation as well, to submit your slides by a certain date. And the reason for that is that we really prepare these rooms and integrate the slides that you share into one slide deck to make it quite easy for all presenters to follow one another in the session. And you will, in the room, find standard equipment. So there will be a laptop that is set up. The slides will be on it. You don't need to bring your own computer. There will, of course, then be a screen, a presentation remote, and also in the room on the tables there will be writing blocks and pens, and you will have a flip chart if you're more like an old school person who also likes to work with a whiteboard or a flip chart. In terms of steering, facilitating the room, also there you are covered. So we will assign a session host to each session to chair the session. This session host may coordinate with the 4 presenters in the beginning of the session to maybe decide, let's not take questions after presentations, but use question time after all 4 presentations have been finalized. That is really up to you to agree with your session hosts. That also then is an argument for you to get to your room about 15 minutes before you start your session to do that kind of coordination work. Otherwise, the session host will welcome everybody, do brief introductions, but typically we would recommend not to spend too much time on that and refer to people's bios in the app, for example. And the session host will keep you on time and also ensure there's wrap up and that the Q&A and the discussion is facilitated in a proper way. Good.
Can
That
I
was
ask a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for this. This is so helpful. I'm just wondering about, so I've got a presentation in this type of session. The abstract was quite detailed that you requested, from authors. So I'm wondering what are the expectations for covering, what we presented in the abstract in terms of, there was a section on key highlights, there was a section on challenges. Like what's your expectation around that?
We have no clear expectations for this. This is, again, it's a first question for me, and we would fully trust you to decide where do you want to put the emphasis on in your presentation. And if that means that compared to what you described in the abstract, you have only time to cover, let's say, 50% of the findings, then that is totally fine. So it's not an expectation that you need to cover one-to-one what you described in your abstract.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And trying to touch on the theme, would you like it for authors to try to make an explicit effort to tie into your theme around pragmatism and
That would be lovely.
Okay.
If it's meaningful, relevant, helpful for you.
Perfect.
And we're also very aware that, we started preparing this at this event at a time that I think politically, society-wise, felt a little different. And we are aware that the times are more turbulent, so if it feels more natural, for example, to cover that turbulence and the new political conditions under which we do implementation, that is totally fine as well. So again, there is not a must do where we try to press particular things into a format or into headings that we developed some time ago and that probably are not so matching so much the society situation that we have today. Other questions? Good. There will be time to take to raise questions again at the end. In the meantime, let's talk about the walk the talk format, which is our symposium format. But keep in mind there is, let's say again, more of a traditional form of symposium where you have 3 different presentations interlinked by a shared type of topic. We have those walk the talks, but we have also more interactive walk the talks this time, which we have called more debate-like walk the talks or idea jam walk the talk. So if you do a walk the talk, you will know your format and understand that you need to think differently about what is described here. What is common for the walk the talks, though, is that they have a specific theme. It's represented in the title for the walk the talk session. It is equally 60 minutes long, and you are you are in charge of how you want to shape up your walk the talk, what you want to do with your room, how you want to structure your session. There's really no fixed rule for that. Important though is that you keep in mind to administer your time so you have enough room for discussing interactivity with your audience. When you go into a room, it will be set up theater style, but because we have some walk the talks that are slightly different, please contact us if you have particular needs for the setup of the room so we can make sure that the room is ready for you in the way that you want it. For example, we have one walk the talk that described the use of a World Cafe. So we could imagine that theater style is not the appropriate setup. In case you're involved in that walk the talk, reach out to us and we can do the planning together. You will not have a session host assigned by us because you have submitted your walk the talks with self-selected symposia chairs or discussants. So again, here we will leave it up to you to ensure that there is some kind of opening, introduction, closing. Leave it up to you to manage time of your presentations and for facilitating the discussions. And here also, if you are planning to use slides, we will make sure that these are on the computer in the room. It would be great, Christine, you need to chime in here if I talk rubbish now. It would be great if you integrated your slides in advance and sent them to us in that integrated form that we then just can put on the computer. Is that correct, Christine, would you say? That's the expectation. Yeah. Good. Otherwise, the equipment in the room, pretty much the same as I described before for the Ride the Knowledge Wave room. And should you have, again, if you're more of a creative walk the talk representative, if you have needs for particular equipment, please let us know. Good. And I've said they don't have a session host, and now there is a session host. Am I wrong, Leah, that there is a session host for Walk the Talk?
Yeah, there will be session hosts, but they will have a very minimal role in this format because the sessions are basically organized by the group, but there will be someone to do the welcome and then look at the timing a little bit and do the wrap up. But that's it. Very minimal.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about Walk the Talks from Walk the Talk people in this call? If not now, you can raise them later. Let me walk to the fishbowl. If you have submitted a fishbowl, you know what it is. It's for more debatey type of questions. In our case, we want to give room for debating burning implementation questions that go across science, policy, practice, and provide opportunity to share different perspectives. So this is also a format where I think it would be great if people could be opinionated and also polarize a little bit to kind of get into the edges of our, into the corners and to the edges of our field. Just as every other session, you will have 60 minutes, and the picture here indicates how the room will be set up. We will have fishbowls in one room, so the setup there will stay the same, and you don't need to worry about moving chairs when you begin your session. You will have this inner circle and defined the people who will sit in this inner circle and start the debate. You will have your facilitator for your fishbowl, or even multiple facilitators to start the fishbowl. And then at some point of time, you will begin engaging the outer audience, ready to discuss together with you. People can tap one of the fishbowl debaters from that initial round on the shoulder and ask for taking a chair. And then some of your other debate participants will leave the fishbowl, and in that way you will create an ongoing turnover in the group that is debating, while also keeping the audience active. I've seen some fishbowls where the audience wrote questions on Post-its and continuously handed them to facilitators. So there are different ways of keeping a fishbowl running while you have during the 60 minutes of your time. Also here we have a session host, again, with relatively minimal responsibilities, a bit of welcome, a bit of time taking, also a contact person in case you should have any needs or questions in the beginning. But otherwise, you really steer the room and are in control of your session. Keep in mind that here there will be no slides. We're not expecting to have any computer ready or anything like it, unless you really say we need this. So please reach out to us if you have particular requests and needs for your fishbowl. And if you hear drilling in the background, that is me, and I apologize, and I can't steer it because this is an apartment building and somebody is drilling. Any questions from fishbowl people? Marie-Therese?
Yes, Bianca, I don't hear any drilling.
Oh, very good.
That's not my question. So our fishbowl will look a little different because we submitted it as a World Cafe. So I was wondering if it's also possible to change the setup and if there are maybe even standing tables available that we could use for the small groups. Is this something?
I'm looking at Christine right away.
Yes, I need to discuss that with the venue, but I think they're quite flexible. But let me get back to you directly on that and to see what you need exactly and to discuss that with them. But I don't really think that should be a problem. But yes, let's get on that later.
And
Thank
Christine,
you.
do you want to have a separate email about this to keep track of all the requests that there might be?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that would be great. Yes, please email us this kind of requests so I can make sure I have it in the script, also with the venue, and have all those kind of special wishes. Yes, thanks.
Thanks a lot. I will do that. And another question is because we want to plan for the number of small groups that we're going to engage in the World Cafe. how many people do fit in the room, or how many are planned to attend a fishbowl session if there is high interest before we say, okay, the room is full?
So I will say one thing, and then Christine, you can pick this up. So we're not asking people to sign up for sessions. We've never done this. There are strengths and weaknesses in doing that. The weaknesses that you can't quite know which will be the really requested sessions and which have less pressure. I think last time it worked out to 80%, but there were some sessions that were crowded. So I think the best way here is really to work with what is there room for, how many people is there room for in the room, and plan with that. And with that, I give the word to Christine. I don't quite know if we have already decided which room to use for the fish bowls.
No, but I think looking at the format, we decided to have the smaller rooms for it. But of course, that's not final yet. Yeah, and regarding crowd, we are especially looking and critical being accessible. So with some of our delegates who are in a wheelchair, so we are setting the rooms to make sure everybody has enough space. And that means, unfortunately, that there's just a maximum of chairs and people to go in each room. We have also the plenary room, which we will also assign to some of the sessions, and those will be bigger sessions, but will be a bit more limited in layout. But yeah, we'll take all these wishes, for example, your cafe setup, and look at the best way to address sessions and put them in the different rooms. But I think it's important to mention that we do want to keep all the rooms safe and accessible for everyone. So yeah, hope this answers your question. So if anyone has any preferences on setup, of course, not for the Right to Knowledge Wave, but for the other formats, please send us an email, and we can take that in consideration also when we're looking at the rooms and assigning those.
Thank you, that's very helpful. So I will write to you with our setup wishes, and then I guess you can give us some more information about, yeah, you have room for 20 people, so it will be 4 groups of 5 people or something like that. Thanks.
Very good. Any other fishbowl related questions? If not, let me move on to the slammers. So here we move back to the pre-event day, June 4th. We're at the Brinkburn Brewery, and Science Slam is something that we began with at the last European implementation event in Basel, and we loved it a lot. This is really a lot of room for being creative in communicating about your work, not relying on slides, instead on visuals, on prose, on poetry, on dance, on whatever you can come to think of. So this is science communication, but different. You are tasked with being informative and entertaining. So humor is also a good ingredient to use here. You will present as a group of 7 science slammers, with each of you having 5 minutes for your presentation. And yeah, everything is possible within certain limitations, but pretty much everything is possible. In the instructions that we sent to you already, we described that there's definitely a handheld microphone. We're also exploring whether we can at least secure a tripod so you have hands-free in case you need your hands for something else. And the principle behind the Science Slam is really that you present and you get applause. And the applause is decisive for who wins the Science Slam. And there will be 2 rounds of applause, one immediately after your presentation, and then we will have a second round of applause measuring when all Science Slammers have presented and we're about to wrap up. This is supposed to be fun. The entire event is supposed to be fun, but especially this is supposed to be extra fun. So don't worry about competition too much. Of course, this is a competition, but it's a fun competition, and the people being there are friendly and just want to enjoy each other's company and the implementation community. So that's the vibe and the spirit in which we want to do this. Are there any particular questions about the Science Slam? Here, of course, it's possible that you want something very specific. It may also be that you do not want to talk about this here because there are other slammers who should not hear about it. So send us an email if that is the case, so we understand your particular needs and requests. But apart from that, are there questions about the Science Slam? That does not seem to be the case. Okay, very good. Then I'll slowly wrap up with a few additional pieces of information. There is in the program also a format that is called special sessions. The European Implementation Collaborative has quite a few working groups by now, and they have been invited to think about offering sessions. And then the European Implementation Collaborative also always has tried to bring the different national implementation networks together to offer a session together, and that is also listed here. So you will be able to attend a special session about professionalization in implementation under the title Professionalizing Implementation Science and Implementation Support Practice. Do we need practice standard? This is a session that has been co-developed by especially the Netherlands Implementation Collective. And then they have brought other European implementation networks into the session to debate. I know that Marie-Therese will be present there as well, and some other colleagues from other countries. The topic being a really pertinent one. So this is going to be an interesting debate to attend. We will have a session hosted by our PICE committee. The PICE committee has helped us to better understand how can we involve the public in the event, and they are in the process of preparing a session titled Hard to Reach, How Hard Are You Trying? An interactive workshop that will explore co-production and PPI that is inclusive and results in real changes. I know how hard it can be to feel comfortable in doing PPI work, to understand it and to do it well. So this is a session that we're looking especially forward to. It will be very hands-on and practical and helpful. And then there is a session prepared by the Working Group on Qualitative Implementation Research, EIC Queer, asking where to go with qualitative implementation research, in having in mind the tension today between rapid or slow expectations, or pragmatic or rigorous, or practical or theoretical. So this is a bit one for the method nerds. Have a look. The abstracts are mostly out there in the program, so you can get a better sense of what these sessions and the rest of the program are about. Leaves me with just a last slide, a few general remarks. We sent you some instructions, and these instructions are also can be found, and I don't know, Leah, if you could put these links into the chat. instructions for your particular format. I think we cover most of what you need to understand in those instructions. So give them just 2 minutes of your time. And if you, for example, do a walk the talk and you have multiple colleagues that you work together with to prepare your session, please distribute the instructions with them so they also get a sense of what we are planning for. Also think about accessibility of your slides. There are some basic rules for making your slides more accessible. So think about the contrast between the text and your background. Avoid using red and green together. Use a simple layout. Add descriptions to images and graphics if you use these. And if you want to have more tips for making your work accessible while presenting it at the event, let us know and we can put you in touch with people who know more about this. I already said, please arrive 15 minutes before your session starts. And when we say prepare well here, this is really about please share your slides with Christine in time, so she has time to integrate this. There were some examples last time where she tried to track down presenters in the last minute. That's a stressful job to have. So you help everybody, including your co-presenters, by being prepared well with your materials. Please prepare your slides if you need some in the 16:9 format. And that is again out of consideration for integrating different slides into one slide set. If they come in different formats, we struggle with that. And please upload your slides by May 28th. Christine has sent a link to you to do that upload, so it should be relatively easy for you to do. And with that link, using the same form, you can then also do what I already described in relation to the event app, to upload a picture of yours and your link to a LinkedIn account if you have one for the event app, and that way you will easily be visible in that app. If you have any special requests, please let us know no later than May 21st, especially if this is a bit tricky and it would be possible for us to, or it could be needed for us to find out with our technology team or with the hotel to figure out if we can meet your requests. So if we need a couple of days to explore these kinds of things, please do not wait with sending us your requests and needs until early June. That is simply too late. So May 21st for special requests. That was all. Everything else, you're always welcome to send us an email. The email address is here, relatively simple, EIE@implementation.eu, and that is an email that is covered by Christine and Leah, and we have a habit with getting back to you relatively quickly once we see these questions and requests. Good. I will stop sharing and ask whether there are questions at this stage or comments or thoughts that you want to share. If this was so crystal clear that there are actually no questions, then I will let you move into the remainder of the day. Wish you yes,
sorry, not a question, but just something important. I think you already received some information about this, about the new rules traveling to the UK. That everybody needs an electronic travel authorization, which is a relatively simple process to do, but I think it will be more crowded with applications moving forward to the summer. So if you have time, it will take about 5 minutes. Just do it so you're prepared. And I think it will be lasting for a year or something. So I mean, you can still use it. It's really good on time if you do it now, and then you have no troubles traveling to the EAE.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. And Leah has just shared the link to an official website where you find all information. And thank you, Jane, for apologizing. We have had big debates about this in the planning committee. And for the European people, this is still relatively easy to navigate. If you're from China or elsewhere, it's really a hassle to get a visa to the UK now. Good. I think that's it. Please enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We look forward to meeting everyone in Newcastle. Safe travels at that time, and a good remainder of May.
Thank you.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Everybody,
Bye.
look forward to
Bye.
it.
Thanks. Bye.